Is it true you went 12 for 12 with last year's Maximum cover models?
Crowds I'm used to are usually more, 12.
Give yourself some credit, please. Stark Tower is your baby. Give yourself 12% credit.
12%.
An argument can be made for 15.
12%?
Well,
on my baby?
Any subjects within 12.5 yards were vaporized instantly. Accessing satellites and plotting the last 12 months of thermogenic occurrences now.
Please don't tell me there's a 12-year-old kid waiting in the car that I've never met.
1200 cc's, a dose half of this size, I'm dead.
Jarvis, subject with my 12 o'clock is not a target.
Behind 3 guarded gates and a 12-inch steel wall.
What percentage?
I don't know. 12%.
12%?
You know, I'm 12 minutes older than you.
Go.
12-point verification.
What's up, guys? So on this day in 2008, Iron Man made its theatrical debut, its release in the United States. It had its it premiered in Sydney on the 14th of April, but its theatrical release was May 2nd. That being today means that today is the 12th anniversary of the MCU. And if you know anything about films in general, particularly with the MCU, it seems to be a big thing. The number 12 pops up a lot. So we're gonna look at some of the theories, look at some of the examples, all that sort of stuff, and just have a fun old time looking at this sort of stuff. So I have a list of I have a list of some of the times where the number 12 has appeared. For the life of me, I can't find any examples after Civil War until we get to the other Avengers films. But the first two phases are chock full of them. So in Iron Man itself, the very first one, in the first scene, one of the soldiers, for whatever reason, I've forgotten the word for a second, one of the soldiers turns around and asks Tony if it's true that he went 12 for 12 with Maxim's cover models, to which Tony said that there was a confusion, like there was a mix-up or whatever, and one of them was twins, so it was technically 13 out of 12. But the number 12 is there. It's in the first scene of the MCU. In the first Avenger, Captain America, he says that when he's drawing his little dancing monkey, he says the crowds I'm used to are usually more 12. In the Avengers, there's obviously the famous one about having 12% of the credit for Stark Tower, and then Pepper retorts for saying she was having 12% of a moment. In Iron Man 3, there's a couple of them. So anyone within 12.5 feet of the blast, when an extremist soldier explodes, gets vaporized instantly. While also doing the research, Tony has Jarvis pull up the last 12 months of thermogenic occurrences. When Maya Hansen arrives, he asks her not to tell him if there's a, like he says, don't tell me there's a 12-year-old kid waiting in the car. She then jokes back by saying he's 13, which is funny because that movie was released in 2013. That being the other one, the Avengers, it was released in 2012. The other funny thing about Iron Man 3, particularly when mentioning the 12-year-old kid, is that that year that Iron Man was released, the kid who played Harley Keener turned 12. Don't think he was 12 in the film, but then again, they would have easily just been able to be like, yep, he's about that age. So by mentioning that, a 12-year-old kid early on and then coming up to a kid, basic deduction could be that he's 12, when real life Ty Simpkins was 11 at the time. In Winter Soldier, the Falcon jetpack is behind 300 guards and a 12-inch steel wall. In the Guardians, Star-Lord comes up with 12% of a plan. In Age of Ultron, Quicksilver reminds Wanda that he's 12 minutes older. It also happens to be the 12th film in the entire series, with the first 2 phases having 6 films each, which I kind of feel like is a little nod to the fact that there's the 6 Infinity Stones. You can be the judge of that. In Ant-Man, in the first Ant-Man, when Darren Cross is going in to show Hank Pym his Yellow Jacket suit, there's a 12-point verification security system on that vault. And then in Civil War, this is where we start getting a little bit more obscure with our 12 references. But in Civil War, 12 Avengers are present at the airport fight scene, with Tony's side having 6, those being Iron Man, War Machine, Vision, Black Widow, Black Panther, and Spider-Man, facing up against Captain America, Winter Soldier, Falcon, Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, and Hawkeye, giving us our 6 aside for a 12 total in that battle. We then continue on. 12 characters dusted in Infinity War, or died. If we go with deaths, so we've got Gamora died, and that was a permanent death. Vision died, and that was a permanent death. And then there was Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Mantis, Drax, Doctor Strange, Bucky, Groot, Black Panther, Wanda, and Falcon to get our 12 heroes' deaths in that film. And then pre-Time Heist, there are 12 members of the Avengers in Endgame, some of which you only see in the little conference that Black Widow's having. Those 2 being Captain Marvel and Okoye, with the other ones later taking part in Time Heist itself, with War Machine, Nebula. So if we've already got Captain Marvel, Okoye, then War Machine, Nebula, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Hulk, Ant-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and Rocket, giving us our 12 Avengers for the Time Heist. Obviously Okoye and Captain Marvel don't take part in the Time Heist, but they are Avengers at the time. So that's all the instances of the number 12 appearing in the MCU that I could find. And a lot of people had thought that it related to the 12, which is an X-Men's comic book story. Now, since Kevin Feige was heading up all the movies until he got promoted and put in charge of everything at Marvel, he is sort of well known for being a bit of an X-Men fan himself. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that he would have used this as a basis. And I know this has been theorized before, but I'm going to extend on it because I've been giving it a lot of thought recently. So, where are we? Is this the one that I'm looking for? No. Okay, it's... I've searched the 12 and it's taken me to not the 12 that I was looking for. We want Apocalypse, the 12. Thank you. Now we're on the right page. Now we're on the page for this one. Cool. So, plot synopsis. So Apocalypse begins his attack by planting a fake Wolverine among the ranks of the X-Men. Now, if we look at Endgame, if we take some of these plot details and mix them around, within the Infinity Saga, at some point, Thanos, our Apocalypse substitute here, does plant a fake nebula in the ranks of the Avengers, and that's how he's able to come to 2023 for that last fight scene in Endgame. There's also, since Captain Marvel taking place in the 90s, there's also a high level of likelihood that there are Skrulls on Earth, potentially in the Avengers themselves, as well as obviously in Winter Soldier. It was found that Hydra was still alive and well as part of S.H.I.E.L.D. So we can sort of see from that point of view, the forces of evil have planted false heroes sort of thing the entire way through. And even Iron Man had someone he thought he could trust be the person trying to kill him, basically. But this led Xavier, who's expected the infiltration, to disband the X-Men, and the Avengers did fall apart, obviously, after Civil War. So the X-Men parted ways, and soon after, Rogue and Shadowcat found themselves protecting Mystique from Japan's military. As Rogue fought Sunfire and his men, Kitty watched over Mystique and found unwittingly Destiny's diary. I'm not entirely sure who Destiny is in this sense, but there is a link on the Wikipedia page. Let's find out. Destiny is an X-Men character. Okay, cool. She has the ability to see the future. Right. Hence the name Destiny. That makes sense. The diary itself had a very cryptic description of a 13th, and I will get to that in a second, and told that the 12 would be involved in the destruction of the world. With the death of Wolverine's imposter, the X-Men reunited at the mansion only to discover it was not truly Wolverine who had died, but a Skrull infiltrator had been found. To save Polaris from abduction, Cyclops took her place using an image inducer, and the X-Men followed him to the Skrull's lair, where they were attacked by Death, Apocalypse's most lethal and fiercest horseman, and the same person responsible for the death of the fake Wolverine. After a heavy battle, Death was unmasked by Colossus. The X-Men were surprised to see that their newest enemy was in truth the real Wolverine, who had earlier volunteered for the role, knowing that the other possibility, Sabretooth, would enjoy it too much, whereas he himself would fight the conditioning involved. Following this revelation, Death escaped, leaving the X-Men with half-truths and enigmas that needed solving. Soon after, Xavier revealed the list of 12 written in Destiny's diary. There is a list there of the 12. They are Magneto, Polaris, Storm, Sunfire, Iceman, Cyclops, Phoenix, Cable, Bishop, Mikhail Rasputin, Professor X, and the Living Monolith. Do we get into... Yes, cool. So the Horsemen of the Apocalypse kidnapped Cable, Mikhail, Iceman, Sunfire, and the Living Monolith. The X-Men, with Magneto's help, rushed to Egypt to Apocalypse's lair. They were soon attacked by an army of Skrulls and followers of Apocalypse. Amidst the battle, Bishop, who had been trapped in an alternate future reality, appeared out of thin air, furthering the confusion. Thanks to illusion and lies, the Agents of Apocalypse were able to kidnap all remaining members of the 12. It is revealed the legend of the 12 is actually the grand design of Apocalypse, who started the rumors himself long ago, and their true role was then explained at last. They are in fact 12 powerful mutants that Apocalypse wants to lure together as he needs them to ascend to godhood. Remembering that Thanos is a Titan, and in Greek mythology, the Titans fight the gods. Polaris and Magneto represented the opposing magnetic poles. Storm, Iceman, and Sunfire represented the elements of nature. Cyclops, Jean, and Cable represented the unity of family. father, mother, and child, and chosen for the power of the Summer's great bloodline. Bishop and Mikhail represented the control over time and space. Xavier represented the power of the mind, and the living monolith represented the core, which I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like the core is in like the heart, because a lot of Latin languages use a word looks or sounds like the English word core to like as their word for the heart, or is in like core is in like the body. But one way or the other, I think I've figured it out. Placing the 12 inside containment cells, part of an ages-old celestial machine, Apocalypse would then siphon the energies of the 11 of power through the living monolith to start the machine, which would grant him omnipotence. However, Apocalypse knew his frail, centuries-old body would not be able to withstand such power, and that's when he revealed the 13th mutant, the X-Man, Nate Gray. He intended to transfer his consciousness into Nate's young body, and then use the energies of the 12 to evolve. He begins the process, but Magneto's recent loss of power causes his energies to very quickly become depleted, causing a break in the chain of power. Apocalypse increases the flow of energies, attempting to bypass the break, but it drives the living monolith insane, who then destroys the containment unit and starts a rampage that unwittingly releases all of the X-Men. So while half the team battled the monolith, the other half attempted to stop Apocalypse. Jean Grey exposed the true nature of Apocalypse, showing his rotting body inside his armor. As he tried to enter Nate Grey's body, Cyclops took his place, sacrificing himself to save Nate. Jean attempted to contact her husband's mind, but Xavier claimed there was nothing of Cyclops left inside Apocalypse. And then that story carries on into the Ages of Apocalypse arc. But if we have a look at the characters and what they sort of represented. So Magneto and Polaris being the opposing poles of Earth. If we look at the two sides of the MCU as being Earth-based and cosmic, we have two captains that fit these roles. We have Captain America, who I've put in place of Magneto, since they're both World War II survivors? I think it's World War II in the MCU. So they're both World War II survivors, one being a soldier for the American army, the other being a concentration camp Holocaust survivor. Captain Marvel being Polaris, because they're both female. Polaris is also one of Magneto's kids as well, similar to Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. We've then got Thor in place of Storm. I think that just goes without saying. I've put Hulk in place of Sunfire, because Hulk is like fire. Black Panther as Iceman, and Thor, Hulk, and Black Panther are our forces of nature. We've got Thor obviously being a storm god, filling in exactly where Storm would have been. Hulk being that he has this burning rage, and he's sort of he's a force of nature in himself, and Black Panther with the heart-shaped herb. I think they kind of fill in nicely. For our family, our mother, father, and child, even though in the 12 in the comic, it's the same family. Here we've gone with I've gone with a different approach. Cable, I think, very easily fits for Spider-Man being the child, because he is. As far as everyone on the team is concerned, he is the youngest member, so he is the child of all of the Avengers, of the 12. I've put Ant-Man filling in as the father, but also being the Jean Grey tie-in, because Black Widow, with her comment in Age of Ultron about how she can't be a mother, putting that in as like one of the things that she regrets, clearly showing that she would like to be a mother, sort of thing. And then in Endgame, she sort of becomes a bit of a mother to the team by being its female head. I mean, she was always sort of its female head, but she fits in very nicely. She also is our Cyclops replacement, because she sacrifices herself for the rest of the team. We've then got, for time and space, so Bishop being our time one, we've got Doctor Strange, who literally controls the time stone, and we've got Star-Lord as Mikhail, who is able to manipulate space, but Star-Lord is our only other member here that actually features in space. He's a cosmic hero, so I've therefore put him as space. Iron Man as Professor X, because his superpowers come from his mind, whether that's his suit or any of the other technology that he creates, like the little wrist things that they wear to be able to travel through time. And I put Hawkeye as the monolith because I think he very accurately represents the core. He retires for like, that's one from Civil War. He retired for like 12 minutes and it all went to shit. Things you think of when you just, but yeah, he whenever he's not there, things just seem to fall apart. And then when everything falls apart, he goes off on his own as well, being Ronan. Our 13th, I've put as Nebula. What were my reasons for that? I wrote this stuff last night when I was like half asleep. What was my reasoning there? I think it was because she was the one who she was the one that allowed the younger Thanos to come through. So in that sense, Thanos' consciousness had transferred to his younger body, because his younger self was able to see that he completed his goal, but ultimately failed and realized that, oh, okay, well, instead, let's destroy this universe and create a completely new one in its place. And so I think Nebula is sort of like the key there. And it's interesting as well, because if we go Thanos and his, Apocalypse and his 4 horsemen, we get 5 characters. So Thanos obviously is our Apocalypse. Famine I would have as Corvus Glaive. War is Proxima Midnight. Ebony Maw would be Pestilence, and Cull Obsidian would be Death. And that's because the characters that were those, so Death was Wolverine, War was Deathbird, so a female, Famine was Ahab, so a hunter who would have carried a harpoon or a spear, and Corvus Glaive definitely has a spear, he shoves it through Vision's chest, and Pestilence was Caliban, who is a Morlock, and I don't know, just the way he's sort of drawn in the comics, and appears in some of the movies too, some of the X-Men movies. I just thought that Ebony Maw's face better represented that. Plus, the other alternative for Death being Sabretooth, and Sabretooth is a big guy, just like Cull Obsidian. Also, the name Cull literally just means to kill, so Death kind of fits there as well. But yeah, it's kind of cool to look at that, and yeah. So yeah, and I mean, you can sort of fit in some of the plot points to some, like obviously they're not in the same order, but you can fit some of the plot points from Apocalypse the 12 to the MCU, and it's all sorts of fun. So just like in Endgame, Thanos tries to, instead of killing half the universe, he's going to kill the whole thing and start again, to try and make up for the fact that he'd succeeded but was ultimately killed in the future. And he sort of wants to, in a sense, sort of rule over it, have it know that he was the one that created it, sort of thing. The instance of the living monolith being the one that sort of funnels those powers into him, being Nebula in that instance, being the one who brings him from the past into the future using their time machine at Avengers Mansion. So, Tony Stark sacrificing himself is, in a sense, to sort of protect the world for his own daughter, as well as his, like, protege in Spider-Man. So he does sort of throw himself in the place of younger heroes, and, like, the next generation sort of thing. And then Jean attempting to contact her husband's mind can be seen as when Pepper sort of comes down to try and talk to him and let him know that he can rest, sort of thing. And then to find that even while he's still in his Iron Man suit, Tony Stark is gone. Some nice little parallels. But yeah, I know it had sort of been suggested before. And I think, did I use all of the? I think I used all 12 of the Avengers with Star-Lord standing in as our representative for the Guardians. There are actually, if you take Guardians as a separate thing, then each character with their own solo film, there are 12 of them as well, with the MCU as a whole, as it stands. Obviously, once we get Black Widow, her own film, actually, no, Black Widow and Hawkeye are included in that because they're the original 6. But like once we start getting the Eternals and Shang-Chi and Blade and any of the new ones like Fantastic Four, X-Men, obviously there's going to be more than 12 after that. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. My shirt is the Infinity Gauntlet snapping, and it does say the end is near at the bottom. I thought it was cool. I thought it was appropriate for this video, and yeah, I like it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to see more videos from me and be notified when I upload new ones. I will link the Wikipedia page for like the full plot and everything to Apocalypse the 12 down below. And if you can think of any other instances where the number 12 has shown up in the MCU, let me know in the comments down below. So many facts swirling around my head that I can't even remember if there's other ones. So if there are other ones and they've just slipped my mind, let me know down below. You'll also notice that I didn't include TV shows here because we could just talk for days about every time it appears in TV shows. But yeah, until next time guys, keep your heads screwed on.